slowly learnt to live for myself and what I want my life to look like, and I've become less embarrassed of that I would like pretend to be something else. So I want to share with you what I've done that's helped me to live for myself. You need to learn to be happy with who you are. The way you talk to yourself is so important. I'm now going to tell you how. Get to know yourself like you would want to get to know a stranger. Obviously, no is quite a scary word, so you don't have to go, no, I don't want to. Say this. I love this. This is why I wrote it down, because I've never used this, but I'm going to start using it. The way society thinks of you as a failure, but it doesn't mean you need to feel like a failure yourself. You need to become clear of what you think of yourself versus what others think of you. It's really sad that person can't find happiness in themselves to give to you. This is my last rule. You are listening or watching a conversation with Erin, with me, Erin. Before we get into the episode, I just want to say, please subscribe, follow, like, leave a rating, do any of that if you do enjoy. But I also want to say that I have a Instagram and a TikTok for the podcast, A Conversation with Erin. And I also do have personal Instagrams and social medias. They're all down below. I feel like I look an absolute state. Not that I can see myself in the camera right now. I am coming down with a cold, and I've also gone, like, obviously I'm in a flare at the minute, but I'd stopped passing blood for a few weeks, and today for some reason I've passed so much blood, so I don't feel 100% either. So before we get into the episode, I guess I'll give you a little bit of rundown of what I've been doing. So I'm setting up a business, but it takes so long. I don't think unless you've tried to set up your own business or actively and successfully set up your own business, you will understand how much goes into it. I really didn't. The only thing I've had help with is my logo. Other than that, I've done it all by myself, which is why it's taken so much time. Like the website design, the plan for the marketing, the flyers, the business cards, all of it I've done myself because I'll be providing a service. I'm not going to be selling like physical products. And it takes so much time. Been working on it for like probably a good month and a bit now, but I'm super proud of it. I'm super proud of myself, and I just hope and know that, you know, it feels right for me and it does what I want it to do. Oh my god, Big Brother's back. I've been loving Big Brother so much. I feel like it's just like the old days, and I'm obsessed. I grew up with Big Brother because I think it was the second series was the year I was born, 2002. That was the Jade Goody, Alison Hammond year. I think probably one of the most iconic Big Brothers to this day. Like, obviously I was a little baby, but I was only a couple months old, but I know of it and I know all the iconic moments, apart from the celebrity ones, of course. But God, something got under my skin, so I watched it on catch up this morning because I've been trying to have early nights. And God, Kerry. So at first I really liked her, but the more it's gone on, the more I'm like, we would not get on. Like, me and her just would not get on at all. And when she was commenting on, I love Matty so much. I'll be surprised. No, I'm unfortunately definitely not his type, but that's fine. I can live with that. I just want to be friends with like Jordan, Henry, Matty and Trish and Yimran. Like, I want to be friends with them all. They look like such kind souls and just like such a fun time. Like, they are like my sort of people, like to a T. Matty's had someone comment on his food, like he's been eating too much, and I get it's Big Brother, and I get that, you know, they have a budget and small things become massive in there. Like, I get it, and I get that it's very different to being on the outside world. But oh my god, all Kerry I've seen do, that's great English for me. All I've seen Kerry do is criticise what other people eat. Well, just criticise other people, but criticise what other people eat. This really bothers me, and I'm so glad Matty brought it up, even though he got completely dismissed, which is my issue. He said to Kerry, and whether he's got experience of eating disorder, or he knows somebody with experience of eating disorder, or he's just an educated king, who knows, he said to Kerry, like, I've heard you been commenting on how much I eat. I just want you to know that you need to be careful what you say, because it can be, and then as soon as it can, like, that can be quite a sensitive subject to somebody. As soon as he said that, he got shut down, got told he was too sensitive, he was overreacting. She was so sorry, but would not listen to a word he was saying. Like, and it bothered me because that would be me. If I was in the Big Brother house, which honestly, I'm manifesting being in there because it just looks like a fun time. Like, everyone else around me is like, that's my idea of hell. And I'm like, do you not see how fun it looks? It just looks great. It looks like such a fun time. But he was like, no, that can be quite triggering, and he just wasn't listening to it. And I think it raised a really good point, and I think why I'm bringing it up is how important it is to be aware of what we're saying around eating habits. And I know this generation can be a little bit too sensitive. However, I don't think you can ever be too sensitive around someone's mental health. And if you've said something and it has upset somebody or triggered somebody, and they are sharing their feelings and their views and their experience, you are not in a position to tell them they are wrong. They are the only one who knows what their lived experience is. And they are the only one who sees the world through their eyes and lives with their head and their mind and the voice in their head. And I think for somebody to sit there and say, oh, you're being too sensitive, but I'm sorry anyway, is so invalidating, so immature, so selfish. And I just think we need to be more open to learning about people's lived experiences. And it might not be the same views as yours, it might not be the same experiences as yours, you might not understand it, but that's all of a more reason to listen. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. I think, like that thing there, it brings up a talking point, it brings up a thinking point. I was able to reflect on my own views. This is me just justifying my love for reality TV. Like, this is so me justifying that. Me and my mum and my dad were watching The Wheel on Saturday because I don't have a life. And somebody's special topic was reality TV, and I was getting all the questions right, and I'm like, that would so be mine. It's sad, but it's like my little escape. Like, literally, like, my specialised topic would be reality TV or Pretty Little Liars, because I'm in the process of watching that and I know it all. I could like recite it to you backwards, and there's a lot of episodes to recite. Today's episode is how to live for yourself. This is something I've really been thinking about lately, because obviously I've just left uni. Well, not just left, I've left quite a few months ago, and I am taking an alternative route, you might say. I'm creating my own business. A lot of people that I went to uni with are going into careers, they're like climbing the career ladder, and that is not something that I'm really doing. I guess you could say I'm putting the steps in place to do that, but if I'm the CEO of my own company, yeah, she's a CEO, I can't really climb any ladder, I don't know. So I'm taking a bit of an unconventional approach, and it's taken me, and even in the way that I express myself now and I share my views and what I share about my life is very different to how I would have done a couple of years ago. And it's because I've slowly learnt to live for myself and what I want my life to look like, and I've become less embarrassed of that. Whereas I used to be so embarrassed of who I was and what I wanted from my life, so I would like pretend to be something else. and I wasn't living authentically. And I think it obviously comes down to fear of what others think, or fear of what you think of yourself, or fear of being yourself, or not actually knowing who you are. However, I think it's so important, especially in today's day and age, that we live for ourselves, because you know what makes you happy, you know what's authentic to you, potentially. If not, we'll get onto that later. Life is really too short, and I've been talking to myself a lot in my head of like, if you're dead tomorrow, would you regret that? Would you regret not doing that? Sorry. And I keep telling myself that, and you might think it's morbid. However, I want to know that I've lived my life to the fullest, and I think I'm still getting to grips with that, but I'm slowly but surely learning that I can live for myself and it's okay. So I want to share with you what I've done that's helped me to live for myself. But first, let's talk a little bit about why. Why should you live for yourself? I truly feel like I've never felt more alive than I do right now. I wouldn't necessarily say I feel the happiest I've ever been, but that's because of external factors, i.e. my health. However, you will definitely, when you've reached that point, and it's something that will continue to grow and you will continue to learn about and you will continue to do, but when you reach a point of like feeling 100% authentic and like you're living the life you were born for, because I think we're all born for a purpose, like we all 100% are, and some of us are fortunate enough to find our purpose, others aren't. Some people find it really quickly, some people find it really late. However, I think, you know, we're all put on this earth for a reason, and the minute you find that, you will feel so alive, you'll feel so happy, because you will be living what you want to do. It doesn't mean every day is like a 10 out of 10 for happiness, but there's a difference from having a bad day to having a bad life. You will feel aligned to who you are, and that's one of the most special feelings. There's only been a few times I've felt like this, and when I have felt like that, it's almost feels similar slightly to like some sort of spiritual awakening. You just feel so, I can't explain it, you just feel connected, and unless you've had that, like, you would know, but I really can't put into words what that's like. But you feel just so connected. You won't feel worried. Well, you probably will. However, there'll be less worry because you know what you're doing feels right, and you're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for anyone else. If you fail at something when you're doing it for yourself, at least you know you've tried what you wanted to do. If you fail something doing it for someone else, that's such an upsetting feeling, because for one, you failed. Nobody likes to fail. But also, you failed for somebody else. You haven't failed for yourself. You haven't learned anything from that because you didn't want to do it in the first place. Whereas you can just live your life. Like, bad things happen, but as long as you're doing it for yourself, you can work around it, and you can see that there's a reason for that. You'll become in control of your life. Like, you won't be being controlled by society or your friends or your family or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your job or any external factors. They won't control you anymore. You will be in control. You'll have your say because you will know what's right for you. And if you're living for yourself, you will live for that decision. It gives you a chance to pursue what you're passionate about. And this could be career-wise, this could be just for fun. But you can just like, it's so freeing. Like, you'll be so free because you can do whatever you want. Like, you can do whatever you want. What is stopping you? And living for yourself looks like that. It's like, if I've chosen to go to work today, that's a choice I've made. But if I've chosen not to, that's also a choice I've made. If I've chosen to quit work and start another job or start a job of something I'm more passionate about, that's a choice you've made, and it's so empowering, and it's you taking that control back. You will learn so much about yourself as well. Like, by living for yourself, like, you learn who you are, and that's a gift. I think some people probably leave this world not knowing who they are and will only know who they are afterwards. And I want to leave this world knowing I know every single part of myself, the good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly. I want to know who I am in my core, and I wouldn't be able to do that if I was living for what other people wanted me to be. I will only ever know who I am if I'm taking time for myself and giving myself love and time. And of course, like I said earlier, life's too bloody short. Like, there's no explanation for that. Life's too short to live for anybody else but you. It's such a gift to be a spiritual being having a human experience. This is a gift. Whether you have a great life, a bad life, whether you're in a good place or a bad place. I know sometimes it won't feel like a gift, and obviously it's a very privileged position to sit here and feel like my life is a gift, because there's lots of people who won't be able to feel like that, and I understand it. I've been there. However, it is a gift, and we should just grab it and live for it. Like, the world wasn't created to live with such strict structure and anger and sadness. And I know the world's a scary place, and I know it's easier said than done, but that's even more of a reason. Like, when you're not in control of anything that happens in this world, be in control of what you do, what you see, what you feel, how you act, because why not? So my first step is something that I have done and I'm continuing to do and will continue to do forever, because each experience we have as a human makes us feel something different, or learn something different, or see the world slightly differently. So I'm always learning about myself, but you need to learn who you are to be able to live for you, because how are you going to live for yourself if you don't know yourself? You need to know what is the most important things to you. That's one of the first things you need to do. You need to know what is important to you, what's not important to you, what you value, what you don't value. Because by learning all this, I think our value system and our priorities in life, I think, shed such a light on who we are and what we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be doing. There's no right or wrong for this. Each individual will have a unique experience that changes that for them. And actually, by looking at the things that currently are important to you, if you want to change them, you can. Who's to say that you can't change your current priorities? But you need to know what they are first. You need to learn to be happy with who you are. Obviously, we can change certain things, but at the core of who we are, we can't really change much. And we are who we are for a reason. You can either live unhappy with yourself, or you can live in bliss with yourself. It's a slow process, and not every day you're going to be like, oh, I love myself. However, even if you can just live contently, or even just comfortably with yourself, you can start to live for you. Because why would you live for yourself if you didn't like yourself? Because what's the point of giving yourself those privileges? Because living for yourself is such a lovely thing, but if you don't like who you are, why would you let yourself feel that joy and that happiness and that freedom? You need to be vigilant on self-talk. The way you talk to yourself is so important. And I mean even slight things. Never call yourself stupid, never call yourself ugly, never call yourself any of those negative things, because that is just going to stunt your progress into feeling confident enough to make those decisions of going, yeah, no, I can do this and I will do this because I want to. Obviously, if you've been somebody who constantly talks down to themselves, all of a sudden living this life of being nice to yourself is difficult. That's what I found. So I've started saying affirmations like, I deserve to like who I am. I deserve, instead of saying I like who I am, well, I don't like who I am. This is just an example. I actually do quite like myself. By adding I deserve into that, you're changing the narrative, because it just makes it a smaller step into the bigger step. And then when you feel like you do deserve to feel those things, you can change it. I am beautiful. I don't deserve to feel beautiful. I am beautiful. This isn't just about looks. It's about the whole thing. I deserve to be successful. Don't think, oh, I can never be successful, or people like me don't see success, or people like me don't get wealthy. Whatever your priorities are, know that you're no different to anybody else. A billionaire is worth no more than somebody who is homeless with no money to their name. Each human being is of equal value. It's just society has conditioned us to think that a billionaire's life is worth more because they have more money. However, in the grand scheme of things, when it comes down to our soul, we are exactly the same as each other. So there's no reason you deserve less than somebody who has more. You just need to change your belief system into believing that that's possible. Also, you need to stick to your morals. After you've done the first thing of like asking yourself, what do I value and stuff like that, stick to your morals. Because the minute you go away from your morals, I guess you're allowing yourself to be pushed around, and people are allowed to have different morals to you. But if you think something's important, stick to that. Don't let anybody tell you that it's not. Don't let anybody make you feel like it's not important. And the minute you go against your morals, you're almost showing a weakness. That almost creates a question in you of, am I actually this person? Do I actually think those things? Do I actually value those things? The minute you have a strong set of morals that you feel you can stick to 100%, it creates a different sense of confidence in you, because you'll be at the next steps that I will tell you will come in so much easier by having those morals for yourself and for others around you and for what you want to do in this world. It will make everything feel a lot easier. I'm now going to tell you how I have personally learn who I am. And I know I say this all the time and it's very tedious, but journaling is genuinely one of the best tools, and it's free. You don't even need a pen and paper. You can use your phone if you have a phone. If you don't have a phone, you can use a pen and paper. It gives you chance to really sit with yourself and don't think about it too much. Let your mind do the talking and just write. You see a different depth to your personality that you didn't even realize was there. You have thoughts that you didn't even realize were brewing under the surface, because it comes from your subconscious after a while of doing it. And if you learn what questions to ask yourself, which will come in time, you can really just get straight into your subconscious, and it's almost like your soul is doing the talking and your body is just a facilitator for your soul. It's free therapy. Nobody needs to see it. You can be as honest as you want. It's just amazing. Like, journaling is probably one of the best things. I'm not going to read all of these questions out, but I've got a few questions. I'll put them on my Instagram, Conversation with Erin, so that you can do them if you want. We've got questions like, what are my strengths? What are my short-term goals or long-term goals? What am I ashamed of? What are my values? What do I believe in? Or what gives me comfort? What do I do to show myself self-compassion or self-care? What is my happiest memory? I know I'm stressed out who matters most to me? Who are my support people? So it's all questions like that. Even like, what does my inner critic tell me? I'll screenshot that and put that on the Instagram. But asking yourself questions like that, you're just getting to know yourself like you would do if you were meeting a friend for the first time, and after a few times meeting a friend and you want to know them on a deeper level, or a boyfriend or a girlfriend a few dates in. Date yourself in terms of just get to know yourself like you would want to get to know a stranger. Another way you can learn about who you are is spend time with yourself. You're never going to learn who you are if you're constantly surrounded by people or noise, because it will always be a distraction. And there might be a chance that you start to take on their values and their opinions subconsciously. You might conform to what they think and believe in subconsciously. So by spending a lot of time by yourself, I think you learn the most about yourself. I spend a lot of time alone. And in those times I've spent alone, I've learned what I'm like the most, and the parts of me I really don't like, and the parts of me I really do like, and the parts of me that I think need a lot of work, and the parts of me that I think are pretty complete and I'm pretty happy with. And that has been done in solitude. And similar to spending time alone, meditate. I think the place your brain goes to when you meditate is a very magical place. You can do guided meditations. You can just meditate by doing breath work in silence. And I think that, again, similar to being on your own, it tells you a lot about your thoughts and your beliefs and what goes on in your head. And yeah, again, I think that's a great place to know who you are closer to your soul. But I think first step is create a couple of days for you just to spend time by yourself and answer a few easy questions, and then slowly get to the deep stuff. Again, it doesn't need to be overnight. It can be a slow process, and that's absolutely fine. The second thing, which I think is actually one of the most important things, is boundaries. Boundaries, the word is thrown around so much. So what are they? What am I defining them as? Because people might have a different definition for them. So my definition of a boundary is identifying and verbalizing what makes you feel comfortable and uncomfortable. So it's, again, knowing who you are. So this is like the second step. You need to know who you are to be able to set boundaries, and then knowing what is comfortable to you, what aligns with you, and what is uncomfortable and feels not quite right and like you'd rather not do, or you'd rather not have around in your life. When you're setting boundaries, you cannot be scared to say no. No is such a scary word. If somebody asks you out for coffee, like a friend, and you're free technically, but you don't really want to go, it's nothing against that friend, but you're just not really sure that's what you want to do that day. Saying no feels terrifying, and lying feels even worse, so you go along with it anyway. Even though in that time you could have been doing something, even if it's just sitting on the sofa watching reality TV, that might have felt better for you. We've made no a very, very bad word, and we've also, because of the fear of rejection, and nobody likes the feeling of rejection, we've become so scared to reject people that we're closest to, because obviously we don't want to hurt them. However, somebody's putting in boundaries and saying, no, I actually don't want to do that, that's not rejection. That's just them knowing who they are and being confident in themselves. And in that sense, no isn't a bad word, but we feel in our head like it's really scary and they're going to hate us and we're going to lose our friends, and if I say no now, I'm never going to get the chance again. When sometimes saying no is one of the best things we can do. Once you've got to know yourself, you'll have an even greater understanding of when something feels aligned to you and feels that you want to do it, and when something feels that you don't. I find it very difficult, or I did. Am I just being like anxious or lazy, or am I isolating myself, or do I actually not want to do this? I struggled with that, and it's something I still sometimes struggle with. However, I'm definitely getting better at learning when it's my anxiety that's preventing me, or when it's actually I don't want to do something and I want to use the word N. So obviously, no is quite a scary word, so you don't have to go, no, I don't want to. Say this. I love this. This is why I wrote it down, because I've never used this, but I'm going to start using it. I appreciate the request, but I cannot commit right now. That's great. Obviously, you can make it less formal if you're talking to a friend. Just be like, I really appreciate the invite, but I'm just not really feeling it right now. That's fine. That's not rude. Say we can do another time though. That's so polite. Yet you're still saying no. You're just doing it in a more gentle way, in a softer way. I think the key as well with boundaries is being honest and not being sneaky about it. You might be technically sneaky because you're trying to protect everybody and you're trying to avoid saying like, oh no, I'm setting boundaries and that just doesn't align with me. But by trying to protect everybody by being sneaky or saying something slightly different to the truth, you'll probably end up hurting more people in the first place. It depends who you're around, but then if somebody gets offended by you setting boundaries when that's something you want to do, are they someone who aligns with your beliefs? I don't know. That's something you need to ask yourself. However, I know for a fact, if I said to anybody in my life, I'm just putting this boundary in place for myself, I just need some space, or I need some time, or that doesn't align with my boundary, some people might raise their eyebrows a bit, But they would never make me feel guilty for that. And I think a lot of people would actually respect and appreciate that. I know I would. If I asked my best friend to do something and she turned around to say to me, I'm really working at the minute, Erin, on setting boundaries. And right now that doesn't really align with the boundaries I'm trying to set in place. Am I okay to have a bit of space? Of course. I might be slightly disappointed that the thing that I want to do, I can't do because she's my only friend and we can't do it. That's more of a me problem though. But I'm not going to be upset with her or disappointed in her. If anything, I'm going to be so proud of her that she has felt, for one, comfortable with saying that to me. That's amazing. But also so proud that she's taken that step for herself. If somebody cares about you, they will love that you are doing what you can to look after yourself. And I also think if people are crossing a boundary in your life, this could be in a relationship, this could be family, this could be friends. Like, I've had to put boundaries in place with certain relationships in my life of like, I need to focus on my mental health right now. I can't take on your problems as well, unfortunately. Like, I'm more than happy to be there for you. I'm more than happy to point you in the right direction. But I can't absorb this right now because I'm in a really dark place and I'm not in a position to help you. Be honest. You don't need to just cut people off. Like, be honest, give people an explanation. It's like when people ghost, that does nothing for anybody. And so I think even explaining your boundaries in a sense of, this is my boundary, this is what I'm working on, but also saying to somebody, I need to distance myself because you're currently pushing a boundary. Or sexually, having boundaries in place, it's really important. That's part of consent. And that should be no different in any other relationship or even with work. Being honest, like, I'm not working on my days off because that is a boundary I'm putting in place for my own mental health or for my family life, whatever it may be. But share that, be honest. Like, I think for me, transparency is so important. I also think it's important to note that your boundaries aren't going to be the same for everyone, and boundaries can change and will change continuously, and that's okay. It's just something you need to be aware of yourself. Like, you don't need to say, right, this is my boundaries, end of, full stop. They can change, they will change. They might vary from person to person, from relationship to relationship, from different parts of your life. You might have a change. For example, you might get into a relationship or break up from a relationship. Boundaries might change then, you might go through trauma. Boundaries are allowed to change, and it's important they do change, and it's important that we acknowledge that they're different for every sort of situation. I read this article and I've included it in here because I think it's really important. So it says, when our boundaries are too permeable, we might tend to let people take advantage of us or accept abusive treatment. When our boundaries are too rigid, we might behave in highly defended ways to keep respectful, loving people at a distance. Our emotional boundaries are important because they give us the personal space, emotional, mental, physical, or otherwise, we need in a given situation. When our emotional boundaries are respected, we feel valued, honoured, and safe. Boundaries can be healing. Boundaries can help one not feel taken advantage of. And while maintaining boundaries can be difficult, it increases self-compassion and self-esteem by allowing people to prioritise their own voice and needs. And that's it. It's telling yourself that I deserve boundaries. I love myself enough to protect myself. That's what a boundary is telling you. How can we set boundaries? So first of all, unfortunately, you need to reflect. And you need to think about why you need a boundary in your life and where you need the boundary in your life. This is going to be different for everyone, so I can't sit here and tell you what boundaries to put in place. You need to reflect upon your life in every single aspect of your life, with every single relationship, and think, right, how can this be better for me? I'm feeling a little bit used. How can I protect myself? Or I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable. How can I make myself feel more comfortable? It's literally as simple as that. Verbalize this to people. The minute you know that boundary, if it's in, for example, a relationship, verbalize that and explain to them the way you're feeling and what you're going to be doing to protect yourself. Communication is key. I did a Donald Trump thing then. I don't know why I did that. That was disgusting. And also be kind to yourself. It's going to take time. Your boundaries might be a little bit softer than what they need to be at the start, or you might loosen them for an instance. That's okay. Give yourself time. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just be kind to yourself. So the third thing you need to do is let go. Letting go was definitely the hardest thing, and is still one of the hardest things I do. I really struggle with letting go. I'm such a hoarder with sentimental things or emotional things. I just love hoarding. So for me to let go of something, it's really difficult. I think society has always taught us, well, for me anyway, to live a certain life and do certain things and tick certain boxes. So it's really important when you're living for yourself that you're not living for what society wants you to be, if that's not what you want. So you need to let go of the expectation that's put on you, because if you think that to be successful, society wants you to get married and have children, and you don't want to get married and have children, you are going to view the way society thinks of you as a failure. But it doesn't mean you need to feel like a failure yourself. You just need to let go and unlearn that you care about society, basically. You need to let go of those societal norms. You also need to let go of your own negative self-beliefs. Like I was saying earlier, the way you talk to yourself is so important. Like questioning your ability or your confidence. Like when you're living for who you want to be and who you are, by questioning those things, you're not going to get anything out of it. If anything, you're going to prevent yourself from growing further and reaching where you want to. So let go of anything that's been taught to you by us that you think of yourself that's not beneficial to you. Similar to what society thinks of you, don't care what anyone thinks. If you want to post that TikTok doing a get ready with me, but you care what your friends think, that doesn't matter. Again, with boundaries, if those people are going to judge you, they shouldn't be part of your life. They clearly don't align with what you want for yourself. If they're going to be nothing but supportive, then yeah, keep them around. And honestly, I think what I've found anyway, when I've been more honest about what I want, even if people look at me like, okay, keep dreaming, I get a kick out of it. I'm like, yeah, I do want that, and I'm gonna make it happen. It's honestly such a freeing feeling to be able to say to somebody, this is what I want to do with my life, and I know it's not what is expected of me, but it's what I want. It's so freeing, and in that moment you don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. And the more you do it, the more comfortable it becomes. You almost need to take that leap. You need to become clear of what you think of yourself versus what others think of you, because what's important is what you think of yourself. You need to let go of what others think of you. You need to let go of what you think their perception might be. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is how you view yourself and how you love yourself and how you take care of yourself. And if somebody deserves to be in your life and experience life with you, then their perception of you isn't going to matter, because they're going to show you that they care and that they love and that they appreciate you. So I used to suppress my spiritual beliefs because I got laughed at the first time I ever expressed them, and I was worried that would happen again, and I thought it was a bad thing the way I felt spiritually, which has never been enforced upon me. None of my family are as spiritual as me. It's just something that I believe in. And I think that's why I stopped speaking about it, because I was like, oh, do you know what, if it must be silly then, because nobody around me thinks like that. So it's just silly. And also, I would never tell people that I want to have my own business. I want to be successful. I want to be well known for doing good things. And I used to get scared to tell people that, but I'm not now. It shouldn't be embarrassing if that's what I genuinely want for myself, if that's what I dream for. And I went to uni because I felt like it's what was expected of me. Nobody had verbally said to me oh, you need to go to uni, but I felt as though that was the expectation. And our experiences and society make us think that we have to act and behave in a certain way, and we just don't. And you're not going to ever be able to live for who you are if you're caught up in trying to please everybody and please what people expect of you and what they want from you. And I have found so much freedom in being honest with my spiritual beliefs and my career dreams, and more, like even more than that, like just being honest with who I am and what to my core I want for myself. There's so much freedom in that. And no, it's not what society would want for me. However, I'm really happy with who I am. I really love who I am. And I actually don't care now if somebody's got anything negative to say about any of those things. To let go, you need to kind of forgive and cut out. This is what I do anyway. By forgiving, you're getting your power back. And I mean this more of like people have constantly talked down at you or like questioned you or not been appreciative or not been supportive. Forgive them, because at the end of the day, they're probably just following along with what they think is expected of them. And that's quite sad. So by forgiving, you're taking your power back and you're acknowledging that, do you know what? I know I'm going to be happy living how I am. And you may not be, and that's really sad. And if you are, that's amazing, and it doesn't bother me either way. So you don't need to obviously physically forgive them, but just like forgive them in yourself. Like acknowledge that they might be restricted, or because I think if somebody isn't supportive of somebody, I think they're jealous for the most part, and just feel sympathy for that. It's really sad that person can't find happiness in themselves to give to you. I think by holding on to it, they're going to be a constant reminder of not being supported, or like you're living wrongly even though you're not. And you don't need that negative energy. You don't. It's not beneficial. You shouldn't be made to feel small for your ambitions, your beliefs, your dreams, for your life wants. And if somebody is making you feel small for that, they don't deserve you. I also think something that's really helped me is contradicting affirmations. So like, I'm not silly, or my dreams aren't stupid, because they're things I did think and it worked. I don't think those things anymore. This is similar to setting boundaries. This is step 4, but set standards. And it is similar to boundaries, but setting standards is, I guess, more about what's coming into your life. There is a chance that by living for yourself, you might lose people around you, but you also might gain people because they're going to be more aligned to who you are. However, living for yourself is all about prioritizing yourself and what makes you the best person. And this isn't selfish, because you're being the best person for those around you too. Prioritizing yourself is setting standards for what you deserve and what you want in your life. You need to become clear with what you expect from people, from a career, from life, really, as a whole. And the only way I've done this is lists. I love a list. And I've done lists and lists and lists of like what I want my life to look like, or the standards I expect in a friendship, and I live up to those standards as well. But the standards I accept in a relationship, all of the above. Brainstorming has definitely helped me get clear of what I want, but also what I need. You might not always want what you need, but this again is part of living for yourself, is making sacrifices for yourself. And sometimes what you want in someone isn't what you need, and sometimes what you need in someone isn't what you want. And being clear on that is so important. It's a sacrifice that will be worth making. Obviously, it's not as black and white as that. Not everyone is going to sit into my standard basket, but you've got beige flags and red flags. Now, red flags are a no-go, but beige flags, you can make exceptions. It doesn't need to be a hard and fast rule. It's just getting clear of what you expect from somebody, what you expect yourself to give as well. And also becoming less forgiving. Refuse to live a life less than what you deserve. Refuse to put up with things that you don't deserve. And setting standards is all about, again, similar to boundaries, putting those into place of going, actually, I don't deserve that, or I deserve that, I want that. This is my last rule, to an extent, is take the leap and have fun. It's always scary doing something different to what you're used to, and probably alternative to what quite a few people around you are doing. However, ask yourself, what is the worst that's going to happen? And sometimes baby steps aren't big enough. You do have to take a big leap. and that is doing something scary and uncomfortable and out of your comfort zone, but you know at the heart of your hearts, if you've done all of those things that I've mentioned, it will be right for you. Even if it's not successful or not what you want it to be, doesn't mean it won't be right for you and it won't be aligned to who you are and it won't make you happy. You will never know until you try, and you might do something and hate it, but at least you know you've tried it for yourself. And I think that's such a powerful thing. For example, giving your phone number to somebody. That's living for yourself. Or starting up a business like I'm doing. It's scary. I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm learning along the way. But it's something that I wanted to do, so I'm doing it. Starting that podcast. Applying for that job. Flying across the world to travel. Even as something like saying no to a family dinner. Saying no to a friend. Saying no to a boyfriend. Breaking up with a boyfriend. These are all things that for some people, they're big leaps. And sometimes you have to take them and get uncomfortable to live a life that is the truest to you. And also, like I said, you need to have fun. Like, I've not said this for you to live by these 3 rules and be really strict on yourself and limit yourself. And these aren't bad things. These are all incredibly things. And you're so lucky to be able to implement these things into your life. Don't put too many rules on yourself. Creating certain rules aren't always going to work. And I think, if anything, you're just going to make yourself more unhappy. This is all about living a life that you want. And that's fun. That's exciting. That's amazing. So have that represented in the way you feel and what you're doing. And whether you feel really happy after doing this or not, it's okay to change your mind. That's also a key thing of you're giving yourself permission to make that decision of, this isn't right, so I'm going to change what I wanted to do. You deserve to live a life that is fun and meaningful and authentic to who you are. And Albie's walking around my room looking for trouble. So enjoy it. It will get easier and it will get more fun and it will get more exciting. But just enjoy life. Don't let anything or anyone restrict you and boundary you off and put rules on you, because you deserve the world and the world is your oyster. And why don't we make the most of any experience we can get while living for however long we've got. Okay, so that's all I've got to say on the matter. We've had a few issues, but we got there in the end. So let's do my 3 gratitudes and my 1 hope for the future. So I'm extremely grateful for how good Albie's been. I'm very grateful the fact that I picked myself up and filmed this, because I really wasn't going to do it, and now I've done it. I feel so happy. I'm really tired, but I'm really proud of myself. And I'm very grateful that I'm in a position where I can feel like I can live for myself and I'm not being restricted too much and I'm being supported. I'm very grateful for that. And I'll never take that for granted. My 1 hope for the future is, God, my health improves. It's a bit depressing, that one, but God, I really hope I feel better soon. I hope that my Crohn's flare gets sorted. 1 like equals 1 good bowel prayer. Thank you so much for listening or watching this episode, and I will see you all very soon. You are listening or watching a conversation with Erin, with me, Erin. Before we get into the episode, I just want to say, please subscribe, follow, like, leave a rating, do any of that if you do enjoy. But I also want to say that I have a Instagram and a TikTok for the podcast, A Conversation with Erin. And I also do have personal Instagrams and social medias. They're all down below.